Good morning, Cochise County, and welcome to the Michael Zehr Show, coming to you live from the uh, Rising Eagle Studios here at the Warrior Healing Center in Sierra Vista, Arizona, Cochise County. Today's
Hey,
date is March 4th. That's right, I didn't look at my rocks. I cheated. I had it written down here. I didn't want to screw that up, so I got it right. So today, our special guest veteran that was nice enough to sit down and talk with me today is Mike Monroe. Mike, thank you, sir, for joining us so much. Really
thank you for
appreciate it.
having me.
Uh, my first question I'd like to ask you is when you were a little kid, where was home? Where were you born and raised and stuff like that?
Actually, I was born in Massachusetts, but I was brought up in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Um, I've lived in New Hampshire for about 65 years, and
Wow.
I there's this competition, shall we say, between New Hampshire and Massachusetts. So we always told people, well, I was born in Massachusetts, but I don't really uh, admit to it.
Uh huh.
My mother, we lived right on the border, and my mother's doctor practiced at this hospital in Massachusetts. So anyway, that's where I was
Wow.
born.
I was gonna say because you don't have that heavy Eastern accent for being back there for all those years.
Well,
So
we've traveled around the country.
very cool.
My wife was born in Lawrence, Massachusetts, which is about 50 miles north of Boston. And if you talk to my wife, you'll know that she came from that.
What's your wife's name? Let's
Diane.
give her a shout out. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Diane. She'll be here in a little bit. She does taxes for AARP.
Yeah, she's one of the fine people that comes in and helps Ted and all the fine people that are with AARP that come here and do taxes every Monday through Friday. And it's a great group and what they do. And, you know, not only do they do taxes for veterans, but they're also doing them free for the whole community. I just think that's amazing that they're doing that. Just,
It is because some people, I mean, there's some people that really are living on the edge, and
yeah,
they couldn't afford to have somebody do their taxes for them. And she's
that's right.
always been good with numbers. She's always math and all that kind of thing. So she loves it.
Well, and we were talking about this when we came in this morning, and I don't try to get political on the show or anything, but when we're talking facts and figures and all this stuff, and like the the price of
Yes.
gas. Sorry, we were talking about that this morning, and I couldn't believe that 2 days ago, and it jumped 30 cents, and now it's gone up another 10 cents this morning. I'm like, holy cow, what's going on? We're gonna,
I felt good that I filled up. I filled up my truck 2 days ago, and it was
yeah.
$103. Um,
Well, you know, I've
and,
heard people in California and even in the Midwest are paying like $5 or
yes,
something a gallon.
yes,
Holy crap,
yes.
that's
And I don't
crazy.
know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I have to keep making trips to Tucson. I was at the VA the other day having a stress test, and it eats up the gas.
Let's talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get into your military service. I
Okay,
don't want to jump around too much, but I'm trying to do things a little different.
sure.
Um, so you mentioned that you go up to the Tucson VA hospital. So what kind of care do you get there? Are you happy with the care that you receive up there, or any issues or anything?
Actually, I'm very happy. I had to go for
Good.
a stress test. I have a cardiologist up there. Last year, I had a cardiac ablation done because I had AFib.
Okay.
And I have to say that the doctors, nurses, technicians up there have always been great to me.
Well, the VA does seem to get a bad rap every now and then, but I've been in the VA healthcare system since 1980, and I've had one or two, but for the most part, you know, a great experience there, and I'm very thankful for the not Medicare, the medical care that what is provided us.
Yes, I started out with the VA when I was 50, so that's been 25 years. And it's been a blessing to me, really has been a blessing to me. Um, I started out with high blood pressure
Oh wow.
and went from there. I have to say, the only problem I've had with the VA is billing.
Oh, don't we all? And then, you know, they get into this issue where two government agencies won't pay on the same issue. So then you get Medicare fighting with VA and all this stuff, and it can turn into a really big nightmare.
Yeah,
So,
they're now that they you must know they only bill you once a year. You used to get bills every month. Well, I have co-pays for
okay.
meds and stuff, and so now you get a bill like in January for the whole of the previous year.
Wow.
And I got a big one, not this one, but the last one. I got a big one, and we
Jeez.
went through it because we wanted to see. It wasn't an itemized thing,
Right.
and it looked very high to us. So long story short, we talked to the VA, we talked to people up there, and we settled on an amount to pay, and we paid it. And a few weeks later, we get a check from the Treasury Department for $685
Wow.
because we overpaid.
That was a good surprise. Don't you love those when they show up in the mailbox unexpected?
Yeah,
Or in the checking account, whatever the case may be.
yeah, it
So,
was in the mailbox, so that was good.
wow. All right,
But
I just
anyway,
wanted to ask you that a little
yeah,
bit about your
yeah,
experiences with the Tucson VA, and if we get
yep,
time, hopefully we can go back and touch on that a little bit more. So you're born and raised East Coast. You said that you traveled around quite a bit. One of the questions that I like asking our veterans, and I got this question from Josh Mayer. So Josh, again, I want to give you props for giving me some good questions to ask here. What inspired you to join the United States military, and why? What branch?
my brother and I joined the Marine Corps in the summer of 1966.
And what
Uh,
year?
66.
66. Okay.
Yeah. And basically, it was right during Vietnam. We
Yes.
didn't want to get drafted. We wanted to sign up. And he was the one that convinced me to go in with him on the buddy system.
Okay.
So that's why I joined the Marine Corps. Um, Vietnam was going on, and we felt that was kind of a big deal to us. And so he was 17, I was 19, I think.
Okay.
Yep. And and so that's why we joined and why we joined the Marine Corps.
When you joined in 66, where did you go for boot camp?
Paris Island,
Paris Island.
yes. And from a couple of kids from New Hampshire who'd never been anywhere, going to Paris Island was a different experience.
Well, what was one of your favorite memories that you have of being at Paris Island?
Um, I have a lot of memories. I remember when we first got there, we flew in and we got on a bus and we were headed out there, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Ooh.
So we're saying, oh, well, we're really tired because we'd flown from New Hampshire, and we said, well, they're probably just going to put us up somewhere and,
Right.
give us a chance to rest. We didn't sleep for 2 days.
No.
I have different memories, some good, some not so good, but all in all, when you look back on it, it was a very good experience, and taught us a lot of good things that stick with us today.
What was some of the training that you had in boot camp back then?
Um,
For example, they used live rounds back then, right?
yes,
Didn't they? When it would fire over?
yes, we were live rounds, tracer rounds. We'd be out on the target range, shooting M14s. We practiced that a lot because they wanted us to be the best. I got expert marksman for that one. Basically, at that time anyway, all Marines, no matter what else you were doing, your basic MOS was grunt. So we learned a lot of military tactics, a lot of crawling around under fences,
Right.
and running with backpacks, miles and miles,
And miles.
yeah, yeah, with heavy backpacks and guns and ammo, running along beside tanks. I still don't hear very well, but
Well, and the equipment that used to have to carry back then was pretty heavy.
it was, yeah,
Yeah.
it was. It wasn't like it is today, but as I said, we got lean and mean.
Hmm. And how long was boot camp for?
8 weeks
For
then.
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
And after boot camp, what did you go?
I
I
went.
know the Army they call it AIT, but I'm not sure what the Marines refer to it as.
I went to Camp Lejeune,
Camp Lejeune, okay.
and we had more training there. I actually did a stint as MP
Oh
there.
wow, how
Um,
cool.
yep, yep. And I had a chance to become a police officer after I came out, and I went another way. So,
Okay.
yeah. Um, as I said, as I told you before we went on the air, I
Right.
wasn't there very long before I was in a. We were in a formation one day, and somebody said, "Have any of you guys got college?" And I raised my hand, which I shouldn't have done. And they said, "Okay, you're going up to OCS up in Quantico." And so I did. I was commissioned second lieutenant and went through some training at Quantico. And due to circumstances, I ended up getting an early discharge. Got an honorable discharge. I had some really serious issues at home. I had a brother who was killed in a drunk driving accident.
Oh no, I'm
And
sorry.
that was just about the time that I got home.
Was this the brother that you were saying that you enlisted with, or different?
No,
No. Okay.
he was my brother. Stayed in the Marine Corps for 4 years. Never went to Vietnam.
Okay.
Got out, and he decided that civilian life wasn't working out for him, so he wanted to go back and to the Marine Corps, and he had dependents, and for whatever reason, they didn't take him.
Oh wow.
So he ended up going into the Army, and
Yeah, the Army will take everybody.
he spent 22 years in the Army and retired. I believe it was a first sergeant.
Wow, what's his name?
His name's Gordon, and he lives.
Gordon, thank you for your service.
He's retired and living in Florida now.
In Florida.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tough weather there, huh? Almost as bad as here in Arizona.
Actually, I prefer Arizona to Florida.
Oh, I do too.
You know.
Except for the wind. I could do without the wind. I hate the wind.
Oh, the last week or two, we've had some pretty strong winds. I've had stuff blown around in my yard.
Well, and then it wakes you up at 2 o'clock this morning. I'm laying in bed. Well, I'm laying in bed asleep. 2 o'clock, the wind is banging on my house. It wakes me up. I can't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So I've been up since 2 o'clock this morning. So if I'm in
in
a weirder mood than I'm normally in, that's why.
I've had that happen to me just recently, where the wind was ferocious. Woke up in the middle of the night, and the windows are rattling, and it almost reminded me of, we stayed in New Mexico for a while when we were traveling around near Carlsbad, New Mexico, and that's where I learned about elevation.
Oh, okay.
That's where we were in December that year, and we got over a foot of snow. We were in an RV park at over a foot of snow, and our temperature went down to, I think it was 19 degrees, and froze my pipes.
That'll do it.
But in New Mexico, I don't think the wind ever stops. when we got there to this RV park, they said, "Don't leave anything outside unless it's nailed down, or unless you don't want it anymore."
I wonder why. Yep, it's going to end up somewhere
And
across state.
it's going to end up. And so finally, after that snow, we said, "Okay, we're going to Arizona," and we went up to Black Canyon City. Stayed
Okay,
there for a while,
north of Phoenix.
north of Phoenix. Stayed in just north of Phoenix. Stayed in Cottonwood for a time, and we were traveling back and forth across the country. I had a house. We had a house in Concord, New Hampshire, which is the
Okay.
capital, and we kept the house. And so in the summer, we'd go back there, and we were renting the house to my sister, so who now lives in Whetstone, by the way.
Oh, okay.
and and so we would. I traveled back and forth across the country 6 times before we ended up settling here.
Wow.
Yep, yep.
So when you were in Camp Lejeune, did you have another duty station after that, or is that where you separated from?
Nope, that's no. I went to from there to Quantico,
Oh, you did
and
say Quantico.
yeah, and
That's right.
that's where I separated from.
And did they do the FBI training at Quantico back then?
Yep,
Like,
yep. You
yeah.
had the FBI training center there. Yep, yep.
So you served in the Marine Corps for how many years? 2 years?
Just about two
About two
years.
years.
Yep.
And after you got out, where did you go? What did you do after that?
Went back to New Hampshire.
Okay.
1970. Married my wife Diane, which was the best thing I had done, and I worked around at different jobs until I finally went to work for an electronics company, and I started out doing testing and assembly and stuff like
Okay.
that, and then and my wife actually came to work there too, and worked there for a few years. Went to another electronics company, um, worked there for quite a few years. I actually worked for 2 years. I don't know if you've heard of Colesman Instrument. They made aircraft
No,
instruments.
I haven't.
I worked there for a couple of years, and we
Okay.
worked on this tank killer project that was called Dragon.
Okay.
And then we had people coming from all over the world, from military from all over the world to see this. It was a tank killer that a soldier could fire, and it went out, I think, about, I don't know, 1,000 yards. It had a wire attachment at that time, and as long as that wire was attached, and he had his sights on the target, it would blow up a tank.
Oh,
We saw
wow.
pictures of it blowing a tank to pieces. I mean, I don't know what's going on with it now, but that's one of the places I did work.
Where would
Um,
they do testing like that?
I'm not sure where they did the testing, to tell you the truth.
No? Okay. I was just
Um,
curious because I know that a lot of, Nevada has a lot of areas like that
yeah, it
that do
wasn't in New
classified
Hampshire,
stuff.
I can
So,
tell you that. Yeah, it was a very high security place. I had to get secret clearance and all that kind of stuff, but it was interesting. So we worked on electronics for a few years. Bought a house in Londonderry, New Hampshire,
okay.
and worked. We were still working in Massachusetts, and then it was a stressful job. I had friends that were dropping like flies from heart attacks.
Oh,
My
my.
my That's when I first got involved with the VA. I went down to Manchester, New Hampshire, where the VA hospital was, and my blood pressure was so high they weren't going to let me out of there. I was like stroke material, and got that treated. But anyway, my wife said there must be something better than this. To make a long story short, we quit that job, sold our house, and moved up to the mountains in New Hampshire and bought a big old Victorian house and opened a bed and breakfast.
Now I have to ask you because I've never been on the East Coast. I think the farthest I've been east is maybe Tennessee. Uh, what is the? I didn't know that they had like actual high elevation mountains and stuff in New Hampshire. You said?
Yes, Mount Washington is the highest mountain in the Northeast. It's
Okay.
about 6,500 feet.
Wow.
And Mount Washington is famous for recording the highest wind that's ever been recorded on Earth, which was over 230
Ooh.
miles an hour, I think. Yeah,
Is
they
that
have,
at the peak?
yes.
Wow.
There's a weather station up there where some folks stay during the winter, and it's pretty brutal. But yeah, so we opened this bed and breakfast in um, like the foothills of the mountains, and we had a ski area there, and we had a big lake, one of the biggest lakes in New Hampshire. So we operated that bed and breakfast for almost 10 years.
You know, I think what's fascinating about a bed and breakfast, I actually went to one time up in, oh Lord, help me. I'm trying to remember where it was at. It's up by, uh, can't think of it now. It's north of Phoenix. It's like where Slide Rock is, and uh, I can't think of it. I just, anyhow, they had bread and breakfast. We stayed up there. We went on a train ride at Camp Verde was one of the areas that we
Oh,
went,
okay, yeah, yeah.
and we were had a great time. But you're sitting down, and you don't know any of these people, and it's a great way to get to know people, and it's a way of like stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit, and yeah, so
We had in the fall in New Hampshire, you know, the leaves change. You get this big fall foliage thing, and people literally come all over the world to see the leaves change. They're the
wow.
leaf peepers. So we had people from Germany, England, France,
That
all
was going to
over.
be one of my questions, or if you had some people that came and stayed that were
Yep.
like over. Okay,
And that was the most popular time of year. And then we had the winter ski season. Um, and then we had mud season, which was just rain and humidity and mosquitoes. So it was pretty interesting. We had a dining room that I think we had about 30 people. And, you know, as you said, people would come in and sit down and talk to
right.
each other and
Get to know different
get
aspects
to
of their
know
where they're from, different cultures, and all that. So
exactly, exactly.
you had up to 30 guests in your bread and breakfast then.
Yeah,
Wow,
we
that's
had,
big.
and I cooked breakfast for those people.
Wow.
My wife was the baker. She did a lot of baking, and we got pretty good at it. Um, we, yeah, we had a third floor that was like a loft, and would take in groups like Boy Scouts, groups of Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or something, and
Right.
the kids would stay up there, and their leaders would stay on the second floor,
Oh wow, how
and
neat.
yeah, it was. We we um, we catered to sort of what we'd say middle class people.
Okay.
That area was famous for a, a lot of rich people staying up there, but that wasn't our thing. You might know. No, I'm trying to think of his name now. It's from Aerosmith.
Oh,
Uh,
Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler, Aerosmith got their start there.
Uh huh.
They were high school kids, and they used to play in the local um, community
Wow.
players and things, and
How cool.
that was an example. He still had a place there in Lake Sunapee, um, and it wasn't uncommon for Oprah Winfrey and actors and actresses and stuff to stay up there.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Very cool. So you
yeah.
sold that after 10 years, and what did you do next?
Next, well, actually, I have to tell you the economy tanked in what was it, the middle '90s, and we ended up losing the place because we couldn't. We lost business, and we just couldn't stay in business. Um, so the bank, we couldn't work with the bank, so the bank took the place back.
Okay.
Anyway, um, long story short, after um, a couple of years of fighting back from that, um, we bought a house in Concord, New Hampshire, and I worked for the American Red Cross Blood Services.
Wow, you had a lot of interesting jobs.
Yeah, that was I always say I have three careers.
Yeah.
I worked for American Red Cross. I was what they called a mobile unit assistant. I drove the truck out to the remote sites where we would do blood drives, high schools, town halls, anywhere that we could, and it wasn't uncommon for me to work at 12 hours a day because I had to come in the morning, load up the truck, then go out to the site, unload the truck, stay there for the day while the nurses collected blood, and then bring all of that stuff back at night. And my wife went to work for United Health Insurance.
I've heard of them.
Yep. And so we both worked about 11 years, and then we retired.
So I know that you said that you had moved around quite a bit, and if memory serves, which sometimes it doesn't, I thought you had mentioned Colorado. You were in Colorado or somewhere north, but you had. Where did you move to Arizona from? Is where I was getting to.
Well, we traveled around the country for about 6 years in our
Right.
RV, and so
That's what it was in your RV.
we
Okay.
we were fortunate enough to we've been in all 49 states, and we went to Hawaii in October, but we couldn't obviously drive the camper there.
Right.
We spent 3 winters up in Whetstone at the Mountain View RV Park, which is behind RV City,
Okay.
and we were work campers. We would work at the campground. We were assistant managers. We took care of bathrooms and stuff, and you get free camping.
Okay.
And all of the snowbirds, a lot of them came back to the same place, and
Every year.
every year, and it was kind of got to be like a family. Plus, we liked this area, and one of the things that drew me to there was it was close to Tombstone.
Okay.
And from the time I was a little kid, even in New Hampshire, I was all about westerns. My heroes were Hopalong Cassidy and Roy Rogers.
I was going to ask you who your influences were
Yeah,
when
the
you were a
Lone
kid.
Ranger and
I love the Lone Ranger and Roy Rogers and Dale Evans.
yep. And I'm old enough to remember we didn't have a TV when I was a little kid. We had a big old console radio,
Uh-huh.
and us kids would listen to the Lone Ranger on the
Oh,
radio.
on the radio. How cool.
But anyway, as I got older, I was interested in Tombstone and Wyatt Earp and all the things about the gunfight and stuff. And so, anyway, we found a house out here, about 10 miles from here, outside of Sierra Vista.
Where at? In Hereford or?
Actually, it's in the county.
Okay.
We're off of Mosen Road between Hereford and Sierra Vista.
Okay.
And we found a place there that we really liked. We bought that place, sold the house in New Hampshire,
Uh-huh.
and my sister came out here with us, and she likes it out here too.
Very cool. It's nice to have family close by.
Yes, yes. She wanted a change, and she was tired of the winters in New Hampshire like we were, and so she came out here.
What? You mean you don't miss the snow? Come on. All those, well, we do get snow here though, but not snow.
Not snow.
Not real snow. We don't get blizzards here.
If driving a truck for the Red Cross for 11 years, you don't get days off because of snow.
No.
I mean, the governor can declare a state of emergency and you're still out on the road. But I remember one day very distinctly, I was snow blowing my driveway, and the banks were so high that the snowblower wasn't putting the snow up there anymore. It was just kind of falling down. And I thought to myself, why am I here? So now, as I think I told you, I've lived my dream. I'm a member of the Tombstone Vigilantes, the reenactment group. I'm in Tombstone a couple of times a month.
I guess that explains the bow tie, or not the bow tie,
The
bolo tie,
bolo
and
tie.
the cowboy hat. Then.
And I have bunches of bolo ties and cowboy hats.
What about your belt buckle? You got a belt buckle
I
on
got
there?
a well, no, I
We
don't.
can't see with the screen there.
No, no,
No? Okay.
I don't really have one on today, but I got a lot of
All
those
right.
too. So, yeah,
What do you do with the Tombstone Vigilantes up there?
well, we do reenactments.
Okay.
We do skits about things that actually happened in Tombstone back in the 1880s
Okay.
when the Earps were there, and it's a lot of shooting and killing because that's what they did. But then we do some comedy acts, and we also do a recreation of the gunfight.
A comedy act, really?
We do a couple of comedy
Wow,
things.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. We do. You know, it's not all like the killing of Sheriff White or that kind of thing. But at the end of our show, we do the reenactment of the gunfight.
Okay.
Yeah, and I usually play Ike Clanton.
Okay.
Ike Clanton was not a real good guy. He was a cowboy. He was a cattle wrestler, and in the gunfight, he didn't have a weapon. He was unarmed. So when the shooting started, he ran up to Wyatt Earp and said, "I'm not. Don't shoot me. I'm not armed." And Wyatt pushed him out of the way, so he survived the gunfight. But that's and the Vigilantes is a 501c. They call the Vigilantes the ambassadors of Tombstone, and all the money that we make goes to charities.
Okay.
Everything is donations. All of the members of the Vigilantes, we supply all of our own clothes, guns.
Right.
We pay for all that ourselves. So
I was really happy to see that Tombstone had gone back to, I don't know if you had remembered this or not, but you used to be able to go down Allen Street in your car,
yeah,
and then they closed it off.
yes,
And I was glad that they did that again because they had done that a long time ago, and I think it helps bring more people in
yes,
and for the tourism there in the town and everything. And it gives it a more authentic
yes,
feel of the Old West.
exactly.
I mean, how can you be in a shootout, right? And you got a car, a 2020 Volkswagen or whatever.
Yeah. And now it's stagecoaches. That's what you see.
Yes.
People riding in
Yes.
stagecoaches. Oh yeah, I think that was a very smart thing to do.
I see they added a zip line there too.
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
Up on the north end.
I think it's behind the theater.
Yeah, it's behind the birdcage.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that was just done recently. That was something totally different in Tombstone.
Well, the day I went up there with my dad and we took a couple of his friends up there, they had a really good line. It looked like it was a pretty popular attraction.
Yeah,
so.
I think it is. They had built some new cottages up there, and it's right by those cottages. So I'm not a zipline person. So.
No. I love all of the history, like what you're talking about with the cowboys and the Old West, and because I was like that myself, and whenever there's a new motion picture that comes out, I can't wait to go and see it, and just a lot of good.
Now, as a kind of a spinoff from being in the Vigilantes, I'm doing background acting in westerns.
Oh, really? How cool!
there are several independent film companies that are using Mezcal, the old Mezcal movie
I was going
site.
to ask you about that.
Yeah, the Karchner family bought the Mezcal movie set,
Okay.
and they are bringing it back. They're doing a lot of rebuilding
Yeah, I
and
saw an article in the paper about it. It looked like
yeah,
it was really interesting.
I did a scene for this movie in December at the Mezcal movie set. Um, there's these independent film companies that are coming in. Um, Running Wild Films, which is the first one I worked for, they John Mills and John Mars and Travis Mills, they decided they were going to make 12 westerns in 12 months,
Wow.
and they did. And for low budget, independent companies, I thought they were really good films. The first one that I did was for them, and then there's Lone Gunslingers. That's another movie company, and Energia. Energia just did a sci-fi western that I was in, and that opened up in Tucson on the 28th, and
Wow.
I went to Tucson to see it. So I've been doing that, and I'm going to Tucson again Sunday. There's actually a movie set, a Harker movie set museum uh, up near the airport, and we're going to be doing some uh, some filming there.
One of my favorite places to visit when I was a kid was Old Tucson. And
Yes.
one of the times that we were there, um, Clint Eastwood was there filming
Mm.
Joe Kidd
Oh,
at
okay.
the time. And we got to watch them crash the locomotive through the side of the bar. And we just thought, wow, that is
That was a
so,
good one, right?
yeah,
Um, Actually, what I've been hearing is that somebody is negotiating with Pima County
yes, to buy it.
to buy it,
Uh huh.
and that will be good. And the state of Arizona is is trying to get the big movie producers back into the state. They're offering them some incentives to come here.
Well, I hope they do because I would hate to see it get torn down and then have them build a housing development or
Oh yeah,
something there. That would
yeah.
be tragic.
There
There's so
was
much history there.
really I the first time I went to Mescal, I was driving. It's like a dirt road that goes up into the site, and I was thinking about all of the famous people that drove that same road to do those movies. The Tombstone movie with Kurt Russell was made there,
Okay.
and another one that I liked was The Quick and the Dead.
Yep.
That was made there with
That one had Stone. What's her first name?
Sharon
Sharon
Stone
Stone. And
and
yes.
Gene Hackman.
Yep.
And I have to say, my favorite scene is at the end where Sharon Stone shoots Gene Hackman. But anyway, so I've been doing a lot of that, traveling. No, Monday, this coming Monday, I'm going to be doing a scene in Tombstone. This movie is called Geronimo's Revenge, and the producer is a local guy from Tombstone,
Okay.
and that's the one that we did the scene for at Mescal. And I'm going to be doing a scene over there. They're almost finished with the production for that one, and that'll be coming out, I think, later this year.
Did they get any big name actors for the roles or
No, they haven't had any real big name actors
no?
because a lot of us just are volunteers. We don't. I got paid $100 for one movie that I did, but
Right.
they haven't had any real big name actors. But I'll tell you, if you see some of these movies, they're pretty good. The people that they have are pretty good.
Well, and not only that, but you get your start somewhere, right?
Exactly,
You got to start somewhere.
exactly. And I'm 75, and it's funny. I'm getting more as I've gone along. I'm getting more speaking parts.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm very starstruck. And when I was a kid, it seems like everywhere we would go in Hollywood with my parents, I would run in with to Telly Savalas. And for those of you that don't know who that is, he played Kojak.
Yep.
But uh, I get so starstruck. I see these, and then my first instinct is I want to go up and ask them questions or get their autograph. But then I got something in the back of my mind. It's like, no, they're here. They're private time right now. Let them be. Let them, But oh yeah, I get. I
I,
get.
I've actually never met. There's been a couple of times when Val Kilmer
Okay.
came to Tombstone, and some of the other actors from the Tombstone movie.
Yeah, he
But
played Doc Holliday.
he played Doc
Yeah.
Holliday, and so I've never been able to be there at the time when they were there. But yeah, they do come to Tombstone.
Wouldn't it be cool if they could do a? Well, I guess they couldn't do a reenactment of it, but like reshoot it and maybe update it or something, because that movie was made so many years ago that
Right, right.
I don't. I just sometimes I think Hollywood needs to leave the good stuff alone, and sometimes it's like give us more or expand on the story.
Well, speaking of that, when you see uh, Wyatt and Virgil and Morgan and Doc Holliday walking down the street to the gunfight, and they're all dressed in black and white and nice hats and stuff.
Right?
That's not how they were dressed. That's Hollywood.
That's Hollywood.
That's Hollywood. Um, and the gunfight itself, you might know, didn't take place at the OK Corral. It took place at the corner of 3rd and Fremont Street, which was in a vacant lot a couple of blocks behind the OK Corral.
Okay.
But some newspapers picked it up and they called it the gunfight at the OK Corral.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, if you drive over there and you come to that intersection, there's a plaque out there that says this is where the gunfight was.
Where it actually.
Yeah, yeah. You learn a lot of stuff. I've learned a lot of history. Learned a lot about the characters like Wyatt Earp and those guys. And so
I love going up there to eat at the Crystal Palace.
the Crystal Palace, that's one of the places, yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you walk in there, you can just feel the Old West come alive. It's
You
like,
see that big bar.
Yes,
And
yes.
yeah, the mirrors there. Yeah.
Yes.
And there's another place called the Palace, which is in Prescott on Whiskey Row.
okay,
And you walk in there and you think it's like a reproduction of the Crystal Palace in Tombstone. It's got the big bar.
wow, very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So, other than the Tombstone Vigilantes, which I'm sure takes up quite a bit of your time, what other kind of interests or hobbies do you have that you want to share with us?
Well, I took up horseshoe art.
Okay,
So I'm doing some.
I actually know what that is.
Yeah, I'm doing some horseshoe art. I'm not doing it to sell. I make things for people, friends.
Uh huh.
My wife likes owls, so I've made her a couple of owls, and my neighbor down the street has a couple of yeah, Irish. I'm losing it. Dogs.
Like Irish Setter?
No.
No?
Uh, the herding dogs.
Okay.
Anyway, they're black and white. So I made him a couple of dogs, and you use the hammerhead as the dogs had hammerheads.
Okay.
And I made those, and he came over and he painted, because they're black and white. He painted the faces of the dogs on those things, and then we gave them to his wife.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And my sister collects roosters, so I made this big rooster out of horseshoes, and so anyway, that's been my major project. In between, we have 4 acres of property, and I'm trying to get that cleaned up, and a lot of mesquite.
Yep.
Got a tractor.
And you get those stupid desert blooms. I think that's what we call them, desert blooms. Those they're seeding all the time. They've got that white stuff in there. Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah,
they're
yes,
so
yes.
annoying.
And
Oh
I don't know if you had it this year, but a lot of people did. We had wild morning glories
no,
everywhere
wow,
out there. People, they were growing up in trees and on people's fences,
very cool.
and people that I knew out there said they hadn't seen anything like that in years. But
Well, that's just I just tell you, it's so amazing how this area in Cochise County grow. I mean, there's just so much to do. I was at church last week, and somebody came up and they were visiting. And what is there to do in Cochise County? Oh my gosh, what isn't there to do in Cochise County? You just have to know where to look.
oh, I have friends that come and we take them to Tombstone and
Yeah,
Bisbee, and you can go. One of the things that uh, people back east, whenever you mention Arizona, they think of Phoenix and they think it's like 150 degrees.
right.
And I tell them, if you can go from the border up to Flagstaff and that area, and it's totally different. There's so many different um, geo- geogra- geographical
Right.
areas, you know?
Yep.
Yep.
And we have a lot of stuff in our area here. Like we've got the hummingbird sanctuary. We
Yeah.
got those hiking trails. There's the uh, is it Montezuma Pass, Coronado,
Coronado.
Coronado,
Yeah.
uh,
Coronado
and
Monument.
and they have some ruins there.
Yep.
There's ruins up at up by Texas Canyon, Amerind or something.
Emerald. Yeah, there's a museum there too.
Yeah,
Oh, there's tons of things to do. Even if you want to just go hiking.
yeah.
Uh, but the whole this whole Cochise County is you can spend a lot of time. There's things that I haven't seen yet either.
And if you're a veteran watching this and you haven't been, I'd like to recommend also going to the Post Museum. Holy cow, they got a bunch of really cool artifacts up there.
Yes, my wife and I have been there, and we've taken some friends there,
Yes.
and they've got this section for drones. You know the drones that they fly
Right.
over there.
Uh-huh.
They've got a whole section of the museum where it shows the first drones that they worked with, and but yeah, that it tells you about the history of the cavalry here
Yep. And the Buffalo
and the Buffalo
Soldier.
Soldiers, and my Shogun that I use for the Vigilantes is a reproduction of the 1873 Army Long Colt and that the soldiers used over there. And one of the exhibits shows an original of one of those guns. It looks just like mine.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's something that people should see. Fort Huachuca, I mean, you know, there were forts all over the place
Yeah.
here, but Huachuca is the only one that really stayed here. And one of the reasons was because of their location. When you get up on that hill, you can see the whole valley here. And they could see, you know, activities with Geronimo, Cochise, Cochise Stronghold. That's another place to go.
Well, what was the name of the place that's between here and Tombstone, the ghost town?
There was a couple, Fairbank, Charleston.
Something like, didn't it have like Fort? Wasn't there a fort between here and Tombstone, I thought? It was
You
a ghost
know,
town. I thought there was, but
I know
Fort Bowie or
a
Bowie?
Bowie.
Yeah.
That's out by Wilcox.
Wilcox, okay.
Yeah, but
Just a lot of history here,
yeah,
though.
Charleston and Fairbank. You can go visit Fairbank. It's right off of 82,
Okay.
and they still have some ruins there. They every once in a while it opens up, and they'll have a docent there talking about the town. Um, and there are towns there that I never heard of. I recently read a book by a lady named Grace McCool, and she named a lot of towns that popped up during that time of the gold strikes and stuff. And I never heard of them.
Wow.
There was one called Contention, and actually, there may be a movie coming out that Running Wild Films may be working on called Contention. Contention was the name came from a dispute between Ed Shefflin, the founder of